Ben Askren, and I have two guest co-hosts today. I'm only in here for a couple minutes because I am here in New Jersey in Rhino Wrestling facility because we're doing a bunch of promo shoots for our July 25th card. We got Daniel Roy Lobdell Jr. and making his FloWrestling Radio Live debut, Big Mouth Billy Bass. Oh, and JD Vader. What's up, JD?
What's going on, everybody? Episode 515, my hometown area code. Happy to be here.
Oh,
what's that? Ames or something?
Baby, Central Iowa.
Ames. Okay, Central Iowa. What a fantastic place.
God's country.
So, hey, I'm really excited. I'm only going to be on like 10, 15 minutes because we've got a NJRTC practice coming our way soon. We got Reese, Pat Downey, Anthony Ashnault all going to be here. I don't know who else. So we got a day full of interviews and promo shoots. We did Chamizo yesterday. It was unsurprisingly awesome. He has an amazing story, I think, as we know. He kind of elaborated a little bit. I learned a little more about what kind of led to his, defection from Cuba. I don't know how much you know.
Could you give us the cliff notes on that one? Because I don't really know at all.
So cliff notes are this. He, in 2011, missed weight or could not make weight or managed his weight poorly at 55 kilograms and was suspended for not making weight, basically.
Really?
And was he was like punished for doing it, and like for very obvious reasons. He was like, I can't make it, right?
I can't believe someone who's about to wrestle 79 kilos struggled to make 55 kilos.
It's a really weird thing. So he ends up like he said on multiple times he was in the streets, right, of Cuba. He wasn't wrestling. He had like 3 years where he was just off the grid, basically, not training.
What? 3 years?
Yeah. He said 3 years on the street.
I didn't realize that.
And then so
hold on. Oh, wait. I got so many questions about this, Christian. You might be on here more than 10 minutes now because I'm going to grill you. Okay, number one, are Cuban athletes paid some type of stipend? I guess I don't even know the answer to this. And then number two, what kind of idiot Cuban coach kicked this international treasure Chamizo off the team for 3 years for missing weight? Like, dude, he missed weight. Shut up. Put him back on the team in the next weight class.
Yeah, that I don't know. So as far as the stipend, I doubt there's much. But what I anticipate is like your life is kind of more taken care of. You're given a place to stay. You're kind of in school, you're getting food, etc. It's kind of like more provided for than this is my guess. We didn't get into all this and why the coaches were that dumb. I had the same question, but seriously? I didn't ask it. But yeah, it's like it's Frank Chamizo. He had already medaled for you at Worlds, right? In 2010.
At age like 17.
Yeah, he's very young, right? So you're gonna, I don't know. So maybe there's more to the story, but either way, I think bad judgment from the Cuban national team, and now it's, to Team Italy's benefit. But really what was most surprising or most interesting about that is like, dude, this guy was off the grid for that long, and then he wins Worlds in 2015. That's insane. Like, in the weight he won had Romanov, had Asgarov, had Navruzov in it, Brent Metcalf. Like, he won a ridiculous – who's it? Mohammadi was in that weight. Like, ridiculous, and he won it after that kind of a layoff. It's really incredible.
So what was when did he actually arrive in Italy and was on the team in Italy, and then how long was that prior to the Worlds in 2015? Was it 6 months? Was it a year? What was it?
I don't know the exact timeline, but like around 2014. Yeah.
Got it.
So it was fun watching him practice, watching him train, getting to talk with Coach Kalika. Caught up with Evan Wick, who's training with Frank. So that was cool as well, and just kind of talking about, here's the number one thing I learned from Frank Chamizo, and the most interesting. I think he put it in the most eloquent way possible, because like there's so much curiosity as American wrestling fans about like the Cuban and Russian system, and he put it in. I think, and maybe other people have said this, but I've never heard it or never processed. I was like, explain the difference, and he's like, in America, they try to put the style of wrestling on you and in you. In Cuba and Russia, they just try to pull it out of you. and try to get you not to fit an archetype, but you have to figure out your way of wrestling. And he said that's why there's no one that wrestles like me, because they don't teach you to wrestle a certain way. They teach you and equip you on how to figure out how you wrestle best, and then just they try to emphasize.
Ben's talked a lot about that. Like, you're not explosive, so you didn't do explosive technique. You found out how to scramble and how to out-scramble people and how to lock up a cradle.
Yeah.
I would be more, I mean, that would be, you know what, now that you're talking about this, Christian, it's like I don't ever remember thinking, hearing deeply about the Cuban wrestling system. And it kind of makes me wonder why I've never heard about it. We should maybe do a little piece now that Ed Chimendia's in America. Chimizo's fairly accessible. You got Yoel Romero in Florida. I mean, there's a handful of Cubans who wrestled at a very high level who are fairly accessible. It would be real interesting to hear more and more about that system, because obviously they're a country with a fairly small population with not all that great of resources, who's had a tremendous amount of success in the sport of wrestling in the last, 20 years?
Yeah, and I would say I'm pretty sure I asked explicitly, I was like, what are the similarities between the Cuban and the Russian system? He's like, they're the same. He basically said they're basically identical. Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, but it makes sense with the ties between those two nations, just politically back in the day. I think Russia has had real influence.
Oh, yeah.
So, interesting stuff.
So I just looked it up because I knew it was low, but the population of all of Cuba is 11 million. So when you think about how many world medalists they've put out in the last 20 years, and again, scarce resources, small population, and they just keep producing, world level athlete after world level athlete. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, incredible. I'll tell one more story, and then I'll let you guys have a fun show. But
cool.
So here, look behind me. Hold on. See, this is Shane Van Ness. Okay. Hold on. I'm having a hard time with the left-right system.
We see it.
There we go.
We got it. We got that.
It took me a second. Okay, so he comes in. This is his dad's club here.
His dad runs the club.
Yes. So he showed up yesterday, and he's just coming and watching. I was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Shane Van Ness is here. He's watching Chimizo work out and stuff. And then he leaves, and Mike's like, did you see that? I was like, no. Like, he goes and talks to Chimizo for a second, then, he leaves. And he's like, he just went up to Chimizo, said, hey, I'm Shane Van Ness, and in 4 years I'm going to beat you. And then we left. I was like, oh, my gosh, this guy. And I was like, all right, I kind of buy it. This kid is, like, so fired up. But, yeah, he's really good. And I think that's one of those, we'll see what materializes with Shane's career. I think he's really excellent. I think that's a pretty interesting mindset. I don't know if that's something that Ben Funky Askren would ever do, but it sounds reminiscent of something the Funky.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Christian. I'm gonna take two angles on this. Number one, there are those kids who are significantly more arrogant than they probably should be, and you'll hear this from a whole bunch of kids. I've had many kids come up and say something similar to me, and obviously not all of them are for real. But at, let me think, 2002 junior duel, so this is after my senior year of high school, Tyrone Lewis was working for Team Oklahoma, and I told him, me and Matt Pell went up to him and said, we're wrestling in Missouri next year. And I can't remember if it was, we're going to beat you or we're, something. We gave him a hard time about something. He kind of laughed it off. And then sure enough, 6 years later, that's who I beat to make the Olympic team.
That's awesome. Very good.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised to learn that. No man, JD, anything before I leave you?
Yeah, so I want, real quick, if you could just kind of tell the people what the plan is, if we're going to roll some of this out beforehand, if we're going to roll it out. It sounds like some of it's going to be on the Dake Chimizo stream, but this is all kind of building for Dake Chimizo. If you can kind of give the people an idea of the content rollout for this.
So, content rollout. Mike uploaded a practice. I think you should see that at some point today, if not in the near future. Chimizo's practice. I think the long form interview that I did with Frank should be up in the next couple of days or so. Today we have Downey and National. Tomorrow is David Taylor, Luke Pletcher, and then Thursday is Kyle Dake. And we're all following kind of a similar blueprint. We're getting promo stuff. We're getting practice footage. We're getting promo interviews, and then more of a long form interview and other content along the way. So you should start seeing stuff soon. And I'm very hopeful that you will see a really dope, quick little promo that our man Sean Connell put together. It is so sick. You're gonna love it. So that's the approximate plan. Obviously, we hope we come in with a plan of getting X, Y, and Z, and then invariably we always get a lot more. So hopefully there's some fun surprises along the way.
Excellent.
And with Pat Downey, there's nothing but surprises.
For sure. Well, CP, we're excited to see what you got coming out there. So don't screw up today, but thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thank you. I will try not to. You guys have fun. Don't get me in trouble.
I will try.
Y'all have a good one.
Can't promise.
See you guys. Yeah. Later.
All right, now that he's gone, you want to bring Sion on?
Yeah. All right, Sion, go ahead. Come in.
Oh, I forgot about Sion. That was another one who I co-hosted with. Probably the most notorious, the best.
Yeah. Man, that's really interesting, and I'm glad that they're able to get some stuff out right away. Kind of keep that momentum going for Dake Chamizo. But Sean Connell, I don't know. Has CP told you about Sean Connell, Ben?
I've heard the name, but I don't think I know.
Video wizard.
I guarantee you've seen probably 24 of his videos on social media or on the site, and he's one of my favorite at shooter editors. Just all-encompassing, badass video guy that we have.
Yeah. I don't know anything. I mean, I've heard the name again, but I don't really know him.
Is there
But I'm excited to see.
Is there a better guy to watch practice if you're a younger wrestler than Frank Chamizo to learn how to flow and spar? He's got to be up there.
Probably not. I mean, let me Yanni maybe. I mean, Yanni is pretty high level there. I'm sure some of the Penn State guys are all, something we talk about, they probably do a lot. Kale doesn't give us the exact recipe, but I'm assuming there's a lot of sparring in their recipe without knowing. So, I'm sure some of those guys flow really nice.
Hey, so we dropped the We Are Episode 3 trailer yesterday, and I don't know if this is the name of the episode, but like on the site, the banner title is Kale the Enigma. Do we put too much emphasis on the wrestling and less on the mental, the way they speak to them, the way the guys speak to each other, the way, every team has a sports psychologist now, right? The sleep aspect, the nutrition aspect. Do we put too much on the wrestling and say, they do something different in wrestling, and not enough on maybe some of the ancillary things that go into being an athlete?
How much more can you say about those extra things other than what's he doing? We don't know.
Yeah.
What more can you say, really? He's been so secretive.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. We don't really know. I would say so. The guy who I worked with a lot, who talked me into going to grad school for sports psych, was a guy named Rick McGuire. He was the head of USA Track and Field Sports Psych. He was also the head coach of track and field at the University of Missouri. And, one of the things that he always said to me, because I got to do a few, they're not called private lessons, private courses, where it was just literally me and him, right? We were talking. That was the college course. He said one of the biggest things you can do is not literally separate sports psych, but put sports psych within the sport, right? Interweave it into everything that you do. And so, I had a practice last night, and that's one of the things I try to do when we're talking about working a position, and then we talk about, what about this move? Well, it ain't just about the moves. It's about the psychology of the wrestling. Well, what is he going to do next? How are you making your opponent feel? Are you making them feel where they have to take a risk? Are you making them feel like they're in a bad spot? Like, literally the psychology of the sport is within the sport. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Well, if you think about Terry and you think about the Kendall Cross, arc, that scene where he says, I watched him not so much for his wrestling, but to try to get to know him, what he was thinking during a match, what his mannerisms were. That kind of sounds like what you're getting to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't really. So obviously, I would say On a lower level, maybe you want to teach some of the concepts of sports psychology. But man, these guys at Penn State, they're all elite level athletes, and whether they totally understand it or not, they probably have basic understanding of most sports psych concepts. So then you got to talk about how it interweaves within the wrestling itself. Let's see, a big one. I'm just going to throw one out there, but big one that a lot of athletes have issues with is they get frustrated when things don't go their way. And this is maybe like they're not getting the right setup, and so they get frustrated. So they take a bad shot that they probably shouldn't have, right? Or they force a shot, and then that leads to something bad, right? So you have to teach them patience and discipline and that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really interweaves within the whole sport.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, to be fair, it's not just Kale doing this, obviously, right? I mean, they're clearly doing it on a different level than everyone, but yeah. I think a lot of programs, with the means, obviously, but a lot of programs employ a sports psychologist, or at least, I'm sure even smaller programs that may not be able to have a full-time one, try to bring people in to discuss these with them, or look within the university for resources, if there's a professor or someone that they could kind of bring along with them. So I think, and rightfully so, a lot of, and honestly, high school programs too are starting to do this. They're really starting to look at, okay, well, if everyone is kind of around a similar talent level, physical attributes, obviously kind of distribute differently, but then what is the magic sauce? Yeah. How you feel, how you take care of your body, and how you take care of your mind.
Well, I think once you get to a higher level, everyone is maybe not to the same level, but everyone's pretty strong and pretty fast and pretty good cardio, right? I mean, there's not gigantic discrepancies between these. And then everyone has a decent understanding of wrestling knowledge. And so for me, it's like, how do you think about the sport is gonna have a lot of impact on how you continue to progress as you get older. And, one thing I talked about with a bunch of my kids, I'm really thankful that a lot of my kids they're very inquisitive, and they ask questions that really test me. But they were talking about, obviously after they were talking about the Kale thing and Penn State. And, I said, I think one of the things they do really well at Penn State is they continue to progress as wrestlers. And there's a lot of programs who, when you get to college on day one, that's about as far as technically as you're going to progress. And then it's just going to be about working hard. But again, at that level, how much stronger or how much faster can you get? And the answer is probably not that much. How much more in shape can you get? Probably not that much. So if you're not adding new technique to your repertoire, you're probably going to hit a ceiling, especially in wrestling in 2020. Wrestling in 2020 is not wrestling in 2000. And that's something, you have to have that mentality, because there's a lot of kids who are stubborn, and just working harder is easier than, dissecting your own wrestling and saying, oh, why can't I finish this single leg against the shin whizzer? Or why can't I finish my high crotch in a crackdown? Or why do I struggle getting away from a leg ride? That stuff is a lot more difficult than just saying, oh, I'm just going to shoot another 20 single legs.
Well, and this is something you've talked about as far as expanding your repertoire of, and I think this is something we've seen with guys coming in young and either winning a national title, or their best year or the best year or two was freshman and sophomore, and then as juniors and seniors they either didn't have as much success, or maybe their level of dominance wasn't as high, or if they were a number 1 through 4 guy, they kind of dipped to a 3 through 6. And of course there's other things into that too, right? 5 years of college wrestling, you get beat up. My dad always said, just getting through 5 years of wrestling is 5 years of Division I college wrestling is an accomplishment in and of itself. Whether or not you start, whether or not you're an All-American, just making it through physically and mentally.
And to bring it back to the thing you guys were talking about a week or two ago, the top 5 Penn State guys, all those guys had much better numbers as they progressed. Maybe, junior, senior year were better, but their freshman year for all of them was considerably worse.
Agreed totally. And so that was, but no matter to what you're saying is the other thing is it's easy to do just more reps drilling or more lifting or more running. It's easy to do that. And a lot of people don't like the really deep thinking, why can't I finish my high crotch? But to some of those guys who had success early and failed to have success late, it's because, man, there's a lot of brilliant minds in college wrestling. So no, man, if you come into college with, say, an unstoppable high crotch, but that's all you have. You might get it a lot your freshman year because no one scouted you, no one knows you, no one's felt you, and you might get that one move or maybe those couple moves a lot. But then at the end of the day, if you're technically limited, if you never progress beyond that, dude, you're telling me the best minds in wrestling have 3 years to scout you and you think you're going to get the same exact moves? Like, come on. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. So we got a clip ready here. I think it's the We Are trailer. We got 2 clips coming for you. We either got the We Are trailer or we got the Chamizo one. So let's go ahead and let that rip here so the people can see it if they missed it last night.
Everybody know you got that. I know who you are, who you represent. You scare me. You guys scare me. Absolutely, 100%. I know you guys scare me.
Well, that got the blood flowing.
What is it about the Cubans? They have that little raspiness to their voice. Doesn't that make everything sound cooler? Yoel has it big time.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, Chamizo, right, so well-traveled. I mean, had a coach from Dagestan, obviously spent time in Italy. He's in New York, but even in New York, right, Valentin is Ukrainian native. Kendall, obviously, someone that a lot of people would consider very creative and interesting wrestler. And so just Chamizo has had all these influences both in his life and in his wrestling that makes him so kind of fascinating. And then obviously Dake, if you think about the My Best Rival and Dake talking about, I had little goals, right? I wanted to be a county champ and then a state champ, and kind of he was never super big on the large goals. And so just 2 guys with tremendously interesting mindsets and intellects about the sport.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm so excited for that match. We got that Penn State tangent, but I was kind of having fun discussing that. Do we want to wrap that up and just move on to the Sebastian Rivera stuff, or what?
Can we play the trailer for episode 3 real quick? Sorry to go back-to-back clips on you guys,
we're
but
we're going back-to-back Penn State.
Yeah.
There's
no Penn State and Dake Chamizo.
Well, this clip is tremendous too, though.
All right, go ahead, let it rip, Tyler.
What's going on?
We lost it for a second.
Sorry,
There we
take
go.
2.
I'll answer Bo's questions and he answers mine.
Cale Sanders.
Cale, there were plenty of questions whether you had enough gas.
Most people in the wrestling community think that Cale is very stoic, and he can be.
Was there any doubt of this team after the Big Tens?
Do you want me to say yes?
The dude's funny. For real, he is one of the most sarcastic people.
So what do you need to work on heading into the Big Ten tournament? Wrestling. Just wrestling.
And just this beautifully dry kind of sense of humor.
Is it even possible to replace Ed Ruth and David Taylor?
Not unless we can get another year out of them, And we're exhausting all means. I mean, we're looking into every possible way to make that happen.
Cale is extremely secretive.
What adjustments did you make, if any?
Control.
I don't want to say paranoid, but I kind of want to say paranoid.
Is it 100% that you won't pull any red shirts remaining this year?
Pull a red shirt? What does that mean?
Yeah, so you got Nico Zane, Nolf, Nevels, and...
What do you think? You got a plan or something?
Dunking all over CP and Bracky.
Yes. Yeah. I love that you guys ended on that clip. That was perfect.
That was the Vince Carter dunk in the Olympics.
Over Frederick Weiss.
Yes.
That has to be one of the more that's got to be one of the most famous clips on Flow, right? Just in terms of public usage. But it's fantastic. Yes. So that's coming out. Episode 3 coming out next Wednesday. Watch it or you're going to hate yourself.
Because, no, man, I know you love CP, and I really love him too. But don't you think a lot of people love seeing CP get dunked on there?
Yeah. But that's part of his that's part of his thing at this point, right? And he knows it.
Yeah.
He's basically Floyd Mayweather.
I wouldn't quite go Floyd Mayweather, but
Colby Covington.
I mean, look, someone has to wear the black hat, right? Like in any good to draw people in. So, and Ben knows this very well as a fight promoter. Like, you have to make people care, and you can care because they love you, or you can care because they hate you, but they have to care. Otherwise, they're not going to watch. They're not going to listen. They're not going to pay attention. They're not going to intake what you are saying. I'm amazed at how many people hate watch anything. Hate watch the news. Hate watch FRL. Hate watch movies. It boggles my mind. It seems unenjoyable to intake media that you hate and not that you enjoy. But
maybe they got some demons inside them. They can't exercise or something.
They absolutely have some demons. Ben, we have more clips as we get into the Seabass thing. You want to get started with that?
There's one question on the FRL, on the FRL, the Facebook chat, and someone said, unless you're Spencer and he's got the armbar, he's going to armbar you. Top technique is different. I should have maybe alluded to that. Obviously, top is a position where you can enforce your will. So generally speaking, you can stick with roughly the same techniques. Obviously, like say I added an assassin because I was struggling to get into my cradles. Like you want to have a few things to do, but Spencer does. He's got a bar. He's got a roll through tilt. He's got a regular tilt. He's got a handful of things there. But on your feet, if you look at Spencer on his feet, he's very diverse. He's got great basic defense. He's great at scrambling. He's got a good high crotch. He's got a good dump. He does a lot of things really well. He's not very simple on his feet.
The thing I like comparing it to, Ben, and I think you maybe find interesting the person I realize this with. So you know how when you're a pitcher, right, and you want your release point to kind of be the same, but you have maybe 3 different pitches from that release point?
Yes. Yeah.
I like that when wrestlers do that, and the person that actually, not maybe the first one I recognized it, but the first one I was like consciously thinking about it, Kayla Miracle, when she was coming up through, and I think it was my first women's nationals, I was like, oh, she shoots the same way, but 3 different finishes based on how the person reacts. And so comparing it to like the pitcher, I just think that's really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure I was very clear that I meant in the neutral position, not on top.
Yes. All right, you want to get in the Seabass thing?
Let's do it. I think I watched this last night, but let's roll the footage.
Well, we don't have to roll the footage just yet, but so last night on Bader's show we had Sebastian Rivera and Matt Storniolo. And if you don't watch the Bader show, you absolutely should, because we've had like 300-400 different guests since quarantine started, and we hear lots of good stories. We learned the story of Matt Storniolo's transfer, which I don't think a lot of people know. He actually went through a transfer from Penn State to Oklahoma.
Yep.
And
what was I don't really remember exactly. Was there a change in coaching staff or something? I don't really remember exactly.
No, it was a grades issue. He had a registrar issue, a summer class issue, and not to spoil it because I just want people to go watch it, but that kind of forced his hand, and he had to transfer to Oklahoma. He went from Penn State to Oklahoma, for those that don't know, and after his redshirt freshman year, and Oklahoma had already started classes.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, all right, so Ben, as far as the transfer itself, I don't think there's much to talk about, right? I mean, CP talked about it last week. It was one of the worst kept secrets. Everyone knows Sebastian loves New Jersey. He talked about it on the show. And as far as Rutgers is concerned, it's pretty straightforward. Sebastian is going to go 41. Alvarez or Soriano is going to go 33.
Yeah, I did have Nikki Pushups last week, and I have not heard back. Nikki Pushups is off social media.
Well,
I think, 50-50 chance he makes his return?
You go that high.
Whoa.
Why do you think 50-50?
So I think the way Nick Soriano thinks about college wrestling, he thinks about his brand, the Soriano brand. So how can I maximize?
You think?
I think so. Like, how can I maximize my exposure and myself? And does being on the ESPN primetime stage on Saturday in March, does that do enough for your brand to warrant coming back and going to school and going through a year of folk style wrestling? I don't think he knows yet. I think he's still saying
what
maybe.
What are his other options? But JD, then what are his other options? Is he
Olympics?
Is
just
he
focus on
fight?
Olympics?
But that's kind of like, I don't want to say like behind the scenes, but a lot of that stuff that you're not going to have a lot of publicity when you're doing that stuff. I guess it would matter what his ultimate goal is. And I actually kind of, when I look through Nick's Instagram, I don't really think of this as planned. I think of this as like, this is genius by accident. That's how I feel about it.
That's still genius, though, Ben. Genius by accident is just as legitimate as genius any other way.
It is. But, the man's sitting out front of the freaking pest repellent shop with big things coming. You're like, wait, what does this mean? Does he have a secret message in here for us? Or does he just not know what he's doing? There's a pest repellent shop behind him.
Well, that's his father's shop.
Oh, see, but the viewer, how do I know that? No, man.
You don't. That's the beauty.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. It's genius by accident.
Hey, let's run this Sebastian clip real quick from Bader Show yesterday. All right, so you're going to Rutgers. How many times have you been asked what weight you're going this year, and when are you going to announce that you're going 65?
65. I've been asked a lot, right? Everybody wants to know. There's so many people that believe I'm going 57 because you guys posted that it's actually unbelievable.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to yell at you. You started that by calling yourself Thick Bass.
I did. I know that's cool. I like Thick Bass, but people actually believe I'm going 157 pounds. People are putting, he's transferring from Northwestern because he can't beat Ryan Deacon in a wrestle off. I'm like, yo, you guys really think I'm that big? Like, you guys are nuts. Like, what is going on? But I'm gonna go 41 for sure. I think that's just the right move for me.
For sure. Okay.
113, 125, 133, 141. So maybe eventually. No, kidding.
So does that also mean 57 kgs is out for Olympic aspirations?
Yes, 100%.
Just checking.
100%.
So look, Mike Zadek went 60 kilos, and he wrestled 149 in college. So I just wanted to double check.
It also wasn't day of weigh-ins.
Yeah, it was the day before.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You could kill yourself basically and step on a scale and then be fine to go the next day.
It's crazy. I'm glad none of us. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't live in that era. Because
So you're going 41. We'll wait and see what happens at 33. Obviously, they've got some red shirts to play with there with Alvarez and Aragona, and then we'll see if Nicky Suriano shows up. When you were wrestling him, is it weird to think back about wrestling him and like some of those battles and now be like, oh man, we might be teammates this year?
Nah, I've always had respect for Nick. He's a good kid, so yeah, I don't think it's gonna be weird at all. I think people probably think we're gonna get into it in the room and stuff. I don't know. I'm past that. We're getting old in this game. I'm just looking to get him better. I'm looking for him to make me better, and that's all it's about at the end of the day. And that's why I really hope he comes back and we can put this to work and we'll have a great team.
That'd be a great situation. Obviously, it goes without saying that'd be a great situation for you, right?
Yeah. And I hope so for him. So that's why I hope we
absolutely
figure this out.
Lubina.
Hey, my first take here, man, was when you were talking about 57 at the beginning. I kind of did not. I thought you were talking about 57 kg, not 157 pounds.
Yeah.
Which, because he wrestled 57 at the Puerto Rican trials this year, so it's feasible to think he's still going down there. But no, obviously in that video right there, he looks fairly large, and so I'm glad that he ruled that out totally.
Yeah, and look, he's hinted at that before, and it sounds like even if he was staying in Northwestern, that was probably going to be the plan. But just one more bit of evidence, even closer to the season that we hope happens. Sebastian saying he's going to go 141 for Rutgers. I think the really interesting one would be if Suriano came back as a 125.
Oh, and
he's
Alvarez
going
is 33.
57. I assume he's going 57
kilos, 57
yeah,
kilos,
57 kilos for Olympics, and Olympic trials is going to be right after NCAAs.
Yeah, I mean, 57 kg with the current weighing rules is essentially the same thing as 125. It's not really different, right? It's relatively the same thing. So with Spencer and with Dayton and with Soriano, if any of them went 125 or Stevan Micic, I'm not that surprised because 57 kg and 125 pounds are relatively the same thing.
You basically have to pitch count that though. If it's a tough pull,
that's the thing though. Ben is
you can't go a full folk style season doing that. But do we have a full folk style season this year?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, is there going to be there's going to be Worlds in December? If not, is there going to be another Olympic trials qualifier or event in the fall or winter that these guys can go to, get match time at their freestyle weight, and literally not have to care anything about college because it's not going to start until Jan 1 or second semester.
I mean, any of those guys we mentioned could obviously do not a full schedule, and I think if you look at all of those teams, with just off the top of my head, it feels as though they have someone else who's decent that they could put in the lineup at 125 if those guys aren't at that weight every single match.
So let's do one more from Beta Show, and this is Sebastian himself talking about the 3 reasons that he went back to Rutgers, back to Jersey.
Oh,
so
good.
You said the transfer had nothing to do with Northwestern. It had everything to do with where you're from and the opportunities for the future. And I maybe know where you're alluding to, but can you like tell us what those options, what those things are, what the reasons for the transfer were specifically?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't want to be in Chicago anymore. That's part of it too. Like, I'm not a Midwest guy. I'm a Jersey guy. It's slow. It's just different worlds. Another big reason is I really plan on getting into MMA after this is all said and done. Maybe a couple years of wrestling after college, and to do that, Frankie's here. Just like the other week, we have Cody No Love here, Tamor. These are just high level guys that are just in Jersey to help Frankie train for his fight, and I get the opportunity to train with them because of who I am and what my dad owns and everything like that. And then last reason is really Elite Wrestling and my dad's club, and I would love to just be able to help him, and we can start taking that off again. And maybe I might take a lead of that soon. So if I'm around, it's just easier to come to practices and just get that whole thing rolling. So those are the big 3 reasons.
There you have it from Lubina himself. The 3 reasons he went back. So no Chicago. Wasn't a fan of the cold. MMA, which we knew.
The Midwest is great.
That's right.
Tell him, JD Raider.
Midwest is fine.
It's the truth.
Midwest is fine. And then Elite Wrestling, New Jersey. So Ben doesn't like the anti-Chicago take. Are you pro-Chicago, Ben?
Oh, I don't know about Chicago, but he kind of wrapped the whole Midwest together there. Lubina did. Maybe he shouldn't wrap us all together in one lump out here. But yes, you East Coast guys, Nomad, you are fairly elitist.
He's clearly never been to the 515. That's all I gotta say.
I'm not elitist. I'm anti-cold. I'm bad with cold.
I'm anti-hot.
Right?
Moving down
Is it
here,
New Jersey cold?
Terrible decision. Not terrible. I love it here,
Yeah,
but
Jersey's kind of cold.
I'm also anti-hot, JD. I agree with you on that.
I can't walk down the street without breaking a sweat.
Well, shave your damn beard then, you caveman.
I did just trim it up. It was looking Santa Claus-y almost. I don't think people realize, too. Some people do, but not everybody realize how much Seabass admires Frankie Edgar. That was like his idol growing up, and how close they got. Like, that's just a huge pull to get back, because he said himself, the whole MMA thing too.
Well, that's his dad and Frankie Edgar have been together for, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years. Most of Sebastian's life, and certainly most of the life that he remembers. And so, yeah, of course, Matt Sorniolo talked about when he came on after that. Of course, it hurts, but this is what's going to happen. This is what Sebastian wanted to do that was best for him. Ben, have you guys talked on here about Seabass as an MMA prospect, in your opinion?
No, he's fantastic. I mean, I think any really high level wrestler can transition and do really well. I think you look at the track record. There's very, very, very few who did not do well. I think that one day we talked about. It was funny because then I everything started clicking for me, and it was that the Japanese mafia paid a lot of really elite international wrestlers to go lose in Pride back in the day. But there was a lot of them who had just like one fight, and that was it. Because we were talking about the most elite MMA fighters. So we'll stick to American elite wrestlers. And, even you think like a guy like Jake Roshaw, who was very elite, who didn't have as much success, but he was still like an average UFC level fighter. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Because if you think about UFC, still the highest level, right? So being mid-level UFC means you're still way better than everybody else.
I mean, so I would not say, obviously, that's something. Yeah, so UFC, one championship, Bellator. There is more depth in the UFC, but there are very, very high-level fighters anywhere. So, you don't see a lot of high-level wrestlers not have high-level success in whatever major promotion they're in, whether it's Bellator, one championship, or UFC.
The other thing, he was wearing a UFC sweatshirt on the interview.
Yeah.
But if you think about, in general, which promotion puts resources into wrestlers kind of right away?
Bellator.
Yeah.
Bellator.
Yeah, I think that's just their way of. I mean, just like I'm saying, guys, it's obvious that really good wrestlers are going to be really good fighters. So if you bet on 10 of them, you're going to get a couple superstars, right? And that's kind of what Bellator's motto was, because they needed a way to get the best fighters. Obviously, as a UFC fighter, they give you a ton of gear, like more than you can ever wear. And I only like wearing Rudis clothes, so like I keep my Reebok sweat shorts because Rudis doesn't make those yet. And then I keep some slides around in case I'm feeling like I don't want to wear my sandals. But that's about it. Everything else I give away. So a lot of AWA wrestlers have a Reebok piece of gear here, or there. Like, they're all over the place. So I'm sure Frankie, who's had, he's had like 30 UFC fights, right? I'm sure like pieces of Frankie Edgar gear are all over the state of New Jersey.
Yeah, so I just looked it up, actually. So 32 total fights for Frankie Edgar. The last 25 of them on UFC cards, going all the way back to UFC 67, and then he has one coming up pretty soon here. Like, he's scheduled to fight Pedro Munoz on July 15th. Yeah, so pretty soon coming up, he'll have his 26th UFC fight, 33rd overall professional MMA fight.
Hey, can I give some advice to Sebastian? Unsolicited, obviously.
If he's listening, yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Well, you guys can always like DM him, or you guys got his number, I'm sure, of some sort. I don't have his number. But I gave this advice to Bo Nickel, and I wish he would just do it already. But go to MMA as soon as possible. Your window to be an elite athlete is small. I lasted till 35. I never thought I was going to last that long. I thought I would retire earlier. But it takes you minimum a couple years to start making real money in mixed martial arts. Like, you are not going to make the big bucks in your first, say, 3 to 5 years of your career, right? So if you start your MMA career at 22 when you graduate college, now we're looking at your start. If you do well, you can make big bucks, say 26 to 28 years old. You can start making the big bucks. Okay. If you wait, say, 2 to 4 years, now you're starting at 24 to 26. Now you're not making big bucks till you're 30, early 30s, right? And you say your time window is going to run out at some. So is your time window going to be 5 years, or is it going to be 8 to 9 years? And so I think that even that doing wrestling for, say, 2 to 4 years after college, listen, guys, if you know you're going to fight, just go fight. Just go fight. That's it. Like, if you know you're going to do it, go do it. Now, if you're not sure, that's fine. Listen, there's nothing wrong with wrestling. Obviously, we have a lot of good guys who wrestle and don't go fight. But if you know, like Sebastian's saying, I am going to fight, don't waste time. Go fight. You graduate in 2021, go fight.
I also agree with that, obviously, from a non-professional MMA fighter perspective, for two reasons. Number one, I think anecdotally we've seen guys who have declared their intentions for MMA and go, when my wrestling career is done, I want to go MMA. They know they want to go MMA. The last 2 or 3 years, they maybe don't accomplish their goals because they're not all in, because they're
dipping your toes in the water.
Else. Right.
Yes.
And the second reason being, if you are, and this is something I talked to another Bader Show guest, Logan Storley, about. If you are a wrestler, it's obviously very difficult, but you can make it happen as a freshman. You can come into college, be good enough, do the work, connect with your coaches, and win a title as a freshman. Overwhelmingly in MMA, that is just not possible. You have to put in a minimum number of fights, even if it's 2, even if it's 3, but it's more likely 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so every year that Sebastian gets in, that's another potentially 2 or 3 fights that could help push him closer to his ultimate goal, which is, of course, being a belt holder.
Well, but now I'm not going to preclude from saying belt holder, and obviously I held a belt in one and Bellator, but it's generally speaking, and you can go through guys, but once you get to a certain pay threshold, you're no longer going below that, right? So the sooner you can get there, where you're making big money, then you have a window to stay there. But if you don't get there till later in your life, then you're not going to get there. And to your point, no, you're not going to win as a freshman. I look up Logan Storley's record. He started fighting in August 2015. He had five fights in a lower organization, where then he went to Bellator, and he's now 6-0. But now, obviously we had Corona, right? So he hasn't fought since November of 2019. But that is, say, a 4-year window where he is steadily building up. And, now that he's 11-0, he could probably be, to a title in 2 to 3 more fights or something, to where he can become a star and where he can become a very well-paid athlete. But yes, it does take time. I said 2 to 3 years. I said that was on the very low end. But for some guys, it's 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years till they get paid really well. And then they only have a couple of years where they're making the big bucks.
Now, how do you feel about him, or any wrestler for that matter, going to, like, say, Bellator, like, your Aaron Pico or your Romero Cotton, where Bellator comes knocking before they even have one amateur fight and say, we want to sign you, versus a Logan Storley who you said had 5, amateur, probably more local MMA scene cards. Is that a good idea?
High-level wrestlers don't need to waste their time with amateur mixed martial arts. Logan Storley was all pro. He had 5 first-round finishes before going to Bellator. And in RFA and LFA, which are on the higher end of the non-major promotions, right? They're pretty good shows. So I don't think high-level wrestlers need to waste their time as amateurs. They can get right into fighting. But I don't mind signing with Bellator. There's a lot of UFC elitists, and there's a lot of guys who waste their time waiting for the UFC to call. And it's just not necessary, especially if you start your pro career when you're 22. Say you do a 3-year Bellator contract. Well, you're only 25 when you get done, right? And if you had success, then you're going to be undefeated or close to undefeated, and you're going to build a big name for yourself. So, between those 3 major promotions, I would say don't be hesitant to sign with any of them and build your name and brand, and then, you can revisit them again. And frankly, I'm a great example. Free agents generally get better contracts. They do.
Shop around.
If shop around. Yeah, not all of them, right? You have to be in demand. That's for sure. But if you look at the pay that I got, it is significantly better than guys who have been in the UFC for 6 to 8 years and have 20 UFC fights. Even high level guys. I was at the very top of the top on the pay chart.
Hey, Ben, speaking of MMA, Storniolo, I don't know if you could call it cutting a promo, but he had some interesting things he had an interesting take on Sebastian transferring to Rutgers. Tyler, if you could get that one queued up. I think this will be our last clip of the day from Bader Show, but it was a good Bader Show yesterday, guys. You need to watch it. So let's get Storniolo's take on Seabass to Rutgers.
Yeah, and so, everybody's looking like, number 1 ranked wrestler, and there's no doubt in my mind Sebastian's going to compete with all those guys at 141. He's going to be in the hunt for a title because he's that good. We told him these things when we talked to him after the season. Plan was for him to go 41. For us, he's going to be able to compete with all those guys. He's that good. But there's a little bit of a question mark, moving up weights. So we got to see how that goes. And I guess the pressure's on Goodall and his staff, because he went from 25 to 33 with us, and he didn't skip a beat. He beat the returning or a former national champ and number 1 guys in the country. So don't drop the ball, guys.
How about Sorniello getting a fit off there, showing off the guns and the neon tank?
Oh, I loved it.
Yes, and the tan. He's looking pretty tan.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was on his roof. He said he's he's got his hammock on his roof. He's got his little garden going. But I see that is, and look, college coaches can comport themselves however they want. But like, I thought that was a good little fun jab at Rutgers. Like, all right, guys, like you figure it out now, right? That was good. I feel like that's the kind of thing we'd like to see more of. It was still pretty respectful, But hey, you guys got figured out.
I loved it. Perfect.
So, looking at this a little more from the landscape perspective, Ben. So obviously we have the transfer portal now, and Sebastian was a grad transfer, and grad transfers are not new, right? I mean that's the rules have been in place for a while for them to be able to move around a little bit easier. Yeah. But do you think now that there's kind of a model here, because we've seen Sebastian, Seth, a couple other guys, Willie Miklas, where they maybe spend their first 4 years, one of which is a redshirt year somewhere, and then come back home or close to home, approximately close to home.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if say I had graduated in year 4 at Missouri, there would have been zero chance I was leaving. I loved it there. I had great friendships. I had a close relationship with the coaching staff. I mean, for what it appears, Sebastian and Coach Storniolo, there's not like a beef there or anything, right? It's just he wanted to go home, and Matt respected his decision, and that was that. So I don't know, man. I feel like once you're out of place, it's like I always felt like you develop relationships, which it just makes it really hard to leave and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hear you there, but David Bray kind of pointed something out to me. If you look at it from the perspective of, well, there's a couple perspectives, right? So number one, Sebastian's case going home. And then number two, in the case of a few grad transfers, it's a springboard to your career. So you look at Seth Gross, you look at Willie Miklas, they come in for a year as a grad transfer, get their first coaching experience. For Seth, it'll be this upcoming year. For Willie, he had this past year. And then, boom, now Willie gets the job at Michigan State. So it helped springboard him into his coaching career.
Michigan State?
Yeah. Didn't that just happen?
Last week?
Wow. Okay. I missed that. Wait, but no, man. Why? Wait, hold on. Why couldn't someone do coaching at the college they were at already?
No. I'm not saying they couldn't. I'm just saying that's another angle from the grad transfer to look at, because grad assistantship, get your college paid for, right? So if you're thinking about a 2-year grad program, you spend the 1 year wrestling and the 1 year coaching. Make sense?
But you could do it. You could do it where you already are.
Absolutely. You could do it where you are. I'm just saying, given the nature of how grad programs are all over the country.
I think that was like cherry on top in at least those two instances for Willie and Seth. I don't think their coaching or their grad assistantship went too much into decision. I think it was Seth wanted to follow Bono.
It just fell into place.
And Willie, his father, obviously, that was huge at the time. So not saying it didn't work out or it wasn't good, or maybe the thought didn't cross their mind, but I don't think that was a big pull of, okay, I'm going to wrestle 1 more year of college, and now where do I want to be coaching here? I think and if you like a coach, you're going to enjoy coaching with them.
Yes.
And it's going to work out.
Yes.
But this is something, I can't remember who told me this. There's also something to when you begin your coaching career, because there's like, it's natural, right? They'll become a volunteer or, get their grad degree there, and it's the same program. They know all the guys, but it's also going from being a teammate to a coach in 1 year can be weird, as opposed to going to a different place and, I need to look at this guy I respect, as opposed to like, man, I was just drinking with that guy 2 weekends ago. Now he's my coach.
It's true. Relationship changes.
How do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know he ain't drinking? How do you know he's not drinking as a senior in college or a 5th year, whatever you want to call it? He probably is.
Well, everybody gets a little more mature. They get their drinking out early when they're young. They learn, they wisen up.
Oh, so if they did something really stupid, like when they were younger, maybe they're more mature, but because they're at the same place, people view them as that stupid freshman or sophomore.
Yes.
That's an interesting take, yeah. I mean, I feel like the wrestling community is so small that your reputation kind of follows you. Like, if you're a real idiot at Iowa State when you transfer to somewhere else, someone is going to know someone that says, oh, my God, hey, did you know about Nomad? You will not believe what he did last weekend. And then boom, right?
That's fair, but it is different when you saw it versus when you heard it.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I think you're right on that.
And then another one, and I don't know that, I forget when this news kind of came. Chaz Tucker is in the portal.
Oh, yeah. Let's discuss this.
It's not for wrestling. It's because he has eligibility left, and he's trying to get a grad assistant position and
weird and dumb
bridge his career into coaching.
But wait, so why doesn't he want to wrestle? You guys haven't listened to the senior this year, so I thought his eligibility was done. Why does he not want to wrestle?
That I don't know. I have not spoken to Chaz.
Can we ask him why he doesn't want to wrestle? I mean, listen, Cornell has a really good team next year. They can really use a good 33-pounder. You're going to have Vito at 25. You're going to have Yanni probably at 41, 49. Why can't they talk this man into wrestling a few matches? Like Chaz, we don't need you all season. But, if you could help us out, say, at EIWAs and NCAAs, that'd be great.
It is weird. You see it sometimes where guys get a career outside of wrestling. They want to go on, and if they're going into business, finance, whatever, a lot of times, they'll do they'll redshirt and they'll do their 4 years and have 1 year of eligibility left, but they say, hey, I'm graduating, I'm moving on. It is strange that you don't see it too often with a guy who goes, no, I actually just want to coach.
Yeah.
And still have eligibility left.
And it's also interesting because, my understanding from what Mike Grace told me and then what Chaz was saying on the Bader show, first of all, Chaz Tucker, unsurprisingly Ivy League educated, is brilliant, but he is computer science, right? And he designed his own computers, and I think he was building like a video game system or something there for a while. So he's very high level at that.
Don't be a grad assistant, young man. Go make your money.
Right. But to your point, that's the confusing thing, right? Is now he wants to go into coaching, and obviously he can do whatever he wants. If he wants to coach, that's awesome. But it's just it's a little counterintuitive to what I think maybe Cornell thought he was going to end up doing, and maybe it's simply to get a coaching position while he maybe takes an internship in an area, or like say he goes to a school that's in a large city that has maybe a large tech industry, and he's interning for a company, so he's still getting paid as a wrestling coach, but can kind of bridge that as he works his way into a full-time employee for that company. That wouldn't surprise me.
Interesting thought. I'm playing checkers, you're playing chess. He's playing chess.
I don't know if he's a BTC guy.
You should ask him. That would be relevant to the discussion.
But I mean, it sounds like Chaz has his options available, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody threw some RTC money at him, right? And now he's a tweener, right? He's pretty clearly a 61 kilo guy.
Wait, no, man, stop. If he doesn't want to wrestle in college, why the hell does he want to wrestle freestyle?
So he can make money.
Why doesn't he just go buy Bitcoin or make video games or something?
Not everyone believes in Bitcoin, Ben.
Well, they should. If they don't, they're missing the boat.
Some people don't.
Do some research.
Some people don't happen to believe in Bitcoin, Ben.
Well, some people are brainwashed by the United States government that the Fed is a government institution.
Here we go. We just got kicked off Facebook.
Oh, we reduced our
Hey, Alex
viewership
Jones
again.
was back in the news.
Oh, my God.
I don't even know if I can say his name on Facebook, but...
We went off the rails. CP's never letting you come on again. You brought up Alex Jones.
Oh, boy.
I'll tell you what, Joe.
Yeah. That one got a little out of hand.
Okay, but wait. So Chaz Tucker, if he doesn't want to wrestle folk style, why is he going to wrestle freestyle? If he wants to be a coach, he's going to be a coach, right? He's not actually going to go compete. Listen, we need to get Chaz Tucker on this program and ask him some tough questions. And then Yanni needs to go work his magic and talk Chaz into sticking around for. Listen, you don't need to do 30 matches, Chaz. Give us 12 matches. A couple big duels, EIWAs, NCAAs, we're good to go.
Lehigh duel, Princeton duel. They usually have a good non-conference.
He would also have to go back to school at Cornell.
But if he's going to go be a grad assistant coach, he's going to do school.
Well, maybe
right?
Cornell. He's clearly smart. Maybe Cornell doesn't have the degree, the post-grad degree he wants. I don't know. Come on the podcast and discuss, Chaz.
Hey, Dan Seifering just reverse dunked on us. And as usual,
What did he say?
the Ivy League will not allow athletes to compete as grad students despite shortened spring season. The Ivy League will not change its policies to allow graduate students to compete in varsity athletics despite the spring athletics season being cut short due to coronavirus, the athletic conference ruled Thursday afternoon. I don't know what Thursday that was, but we have our answer.
So he wouldn't be able to
He
compete?
is ineligible to compete based on Ivy League rules.
In this case, this makes so much more sense now.
Yes. So our apologies to
Rob Cole
Chaz
couldn't
Tucker.
swing that?
I don't think Rob Cole has quite that much power. He's got a lot of power. He has quite that much power. Shout out
Maybe
to...
he should have done a Bubba Jenkins and failed a few classes.
I think Chaz is maybe, I don't know. Chaz has a little different aspirations than Bubba. It worked out for Bubba. I don't know, maybe that would work out as well for Chaz.
I mean, as a future employer, you'd be like, why did you fail these classes? And, he'd be like, well, I want to wrestle next year. And you'd be like, well, I really like the initiative, and you're outside the box thinking, I am definitely going to hire you.
I hear you, Ben, and I'm not. Seifring just tweeted at you as well. But yeah, I don't quite think that's how it played out. But Ben, I like the way you're thinking outside the box.
You never know.
Never know.
Outside the box thinking is the way to go.
Do we want to get into some questions from friends? Did I share? I think I need to share Tyler on it. We don't have to go the full time. We got about a half hour left.
We got to get.
Yeah. Well, you didn't pull as many questions as CP usually does. So we only have a few. I guess we just answer them, and then if we're done a few minutes early, we're done a few minutes early.
Well, and so something that I don't think CP does enough is go back. Like if he doesn't get to the question.
Oh yeah,
because we have a Google Doc of every single FRL since time immemorial. So I do have 514, 513, 512 open because I haven't been on the doc recently because I haven't been on the show.
Wait.
So I also think we can go back in time.
No, man, you have this one labeled as 515. I thought this was 514.
This is 515.
515.
It's a Central Iowa area code.
I got a Johnston sweatpants on today.
Oh, Lord.
Actually, I don't know if you can see.
Did it Pile say 514 when
he screwed up.
Show? Oh, Piles okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Not infallible, Christian Piles. But yeah, do you want to get into questions from friends, Ben, or was there anything else that you were...
No, let's go.
All right. The first one from Joe Caprino, sometimes friend of the program, sometimes enemy of the program, but usually good for a funny tweet. And Tyler, I hope you have it queued up here. Does Ben Askren have access to a time machine? Was he part of the Indiana wrestling team in 1943? And he even has it circled for the ease here. Tyler's getting loaded up.
Ben, this is you.
What is this, Ben?
I have seen this a few times. It's hilarious.
This has come up before?
This has come up before. I don't know what to say. That guy has eerie similarity to me. There's someone else has shared a few pictures of him, and it's like weird. It feels really weird. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think he's related to me in any way, shape, or form, but he sure as shit looks like it.
We're about to get a super zoom in here. Let's see if we can zoom enhance. Oh, there we go. I imagine that's what Ben would look like in 1943.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I don't know what to say.
Pre-Bitcoin era. That guy also happened to be a two-time champ, four-time finalist with a funky style.
I will tell you, Bitcoin was not invented in 1943. I will tell you guys, my grandfather, who he's not with us anymore, but he actually was from the state of Indiana, and he I won't say he got kicked out of the house, but his family was one of those Catholic families that had like 13 kids, and they sent him to a work farm at like age 13, and then he joined the military he forged his paperwork when he was 16 to say he was 18 so he could join the military. And he
15?
did not have a relationship. I think he was 16, and he said he was 18.
Still.
So he could join the so he could join the military.
He's a badass.
Yeah, and so that was right around the time of World War II, and so I don't know like my history beyond my grandparents, but he was from Indiana. This guy's from Indiana, so who knows? Maybe there
Connect the
is
dots.
some type of relation there. We don't know.
I actually have a pretty good knowledge because we have the Lobdell family genealogy, which is a very large book.
Wow.
Yeah. And so my great-grandfather, so my father's father's father, I have some random, let's see, what's that down the line? Fourth cousin, right, at that point, if they're grandfather's kids, great-grandkids.
Yeah.
I supposedly have some family in Nebraska because Chauncey Lobdell started the family in New York, then took off for Nebraska, started a whole new family over in Nebraska.
With the same guy?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Peaced out.
Wow. Dang. That's crazy.
Yeah. My grandfather.
No, man, it's so fitting that your grandfather's name is Chauncey.
Great-grandfather. Great-grandfather.
Oh, whatever. It fits.
Yeah. My grandfather's name is Douglas Lobdell, and he's an absolute badass. He is also no longer with us, but wherever he is, he's doing badass things. This man, he laid airstrip in Reykjavik and Iran and traveled all over the world, and he's in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. He grew Christmas trees. He had a 1,000-acre farm. I mean, this is a real badass.
He was a pilot. He had his own casino.
I was some dumb things. But he used to take 3/4 inch rebar and bend it into a horseshoe because he just had a freak neck. Yeah. I don't know how actually hard that is, but I assume you have to be some
could he crush a watermelon though?
I should try the rebar thing. How do I get 3/4 inch rebar? And like, what is an impressive size? Is like 5/16 of an inch. Is that not good? But 3/4 of an inch is good. Like, what size do I need?
We gotta talk. Yeah, we gotta talk to our construction friends there and see the way to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a badass though. All right, let's get the next one from our man, Cory Condor. I'm sorry, Cory, you tweet us all the time, so if I mispronounce your last name, I don't know if it's Condor or Kundert or a completely different way of saying it, but Cory, a loyal listener. Can you guys talk about the career Nazar Kolchitsky had? 3-time D3 national champ with very limited folk style experience coming into college. He had an underrated senior-level career, always super competitive with the elite wrestlers from the United States, and also just a great guy. I've never really had a bad interaction with Nazar.
No, I've never heard anybody say one bad thing about Nazar.
Not a bad thing. He was a little younger than you, so I don't know how much you got to hear about him.
I know him. No, okay. I know him quite a bit. I would say, you know what? I was actually kind of having this discussion with Jaden Cox a few days back, and obviously this would apply to Nazar, but guys who wrestle at the major programs, the Iowa, Minnesota, Ohio State, they just have, it's so much easier to kind of get a following even than, say, a Missouri like Jaden Cox. And so then if you're a D3 guy, it's super hard to kind of gain a following going into international wrestling. You would have to, say, make a couple world teams like, say, Terrell Delagnev did or something in order to get that huge following. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the reasoning there. But, yeah, he was always competitive, never made a team. The highest he finished was maybe third. I remember one time he took down James Green and laced him up a few times. Maybe that was 2015 or 2014. But yeah, I mean, really, really competitive, never made a team.
It gets celebrated a lot more in MMA because of the greater health risks, but retiring early, if you want to say whatever, that Nazar retired early.
Yeah.
But people celebrate when MMA fighters retire early a lot more than wrestlers. But in my mind, if you know, and it's kind of like the whole going over to MMA, but if you know, all right, maybe he had a legitimate look in the mirror and said, okay, I'm not going to beat Burroughs, Imar, Dake, and I don't want to wrestle for a full another year. I don't want to train hard for a full another year. I'm coaching right now. I get much more enjoyment and fulfillment out of coaching. Like, why would I put my body through a full another year? And it's easy for us to say, like, whoa, well, why wouldn't you just train one more year and go to the Olympics? But a year is a long time. I mean, to go through a full training
talked about it. He's like, that's 300 more practices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
I think we saw a lot of guys do that this year, right?
Yeah.
He was another one, and they're not exactly similar, but a little Echemendia-ish in that he kind of showed up late in his career at Fargo, did really well. Looking through, he beat Chris Villalonga, who at the time was super high-level recruit, had a very close match with Andrew Alton, ended up third.
Yeah, he lost to one of the Altons. Yeah, he lost to one of the Altons. That was his only loss. But yeah, man, because he didn't come over until he was 17 maybe or something like that.
Yeah. So I don't quite know what happened. And then, when we posted that interview, I think was from either a year or two ago, but we posted it yesterday around this time. And Mel Dow, guy from Wisconsin, I talked to quite a bit. He tweeted, the stories we could tell, Google Translate, ESL classes, weight cuts, feeding us borscht. We knew he was special when he arrived with one duffel bag. His first question was, when can he work out? And all the middle of the night reports he was in the school working out. So the exact reasons of how he ended up in America don't really matter to me, but he's had a really great impact on the people that he's known. And and it's hard, right? Because we don't sometimes, to JD's point about the retirement thing, we don't always get to celebrate these guys, right? Like sometimes guys retire and things are going on, and it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. I remember kind of when Logan retired, I don't feel like we did a good job kind of celebrating his career, because I just remember being a very kind of packed time of the year. So I definitely feel bad when we don't get to celebrate guys' careers, but even a guy like Nazar, who, yes, he never made a world team, but he made a bunch of national teams. He was super entertaining. Great story, and he's probably gonna have an awesome club, and he might knock off Ben Askren. So I don't know, man. Maybe you shouldn't be singing his praises too highly. It's coming for your neck.
Yeah.
Echemendia should hit him up, ask him what he did, because he, is Division III, but clearly had success in folk style.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and his thing was clearly not a talent thing.
Oh no,
it was just kind of when he came.
Yes.
Let's see, Pat Hitchler. I'm not a Penn State super fan, but I think in 2022, Starocki, Brooks, Beard, Kirkfleet could end up being as dominant as Taylor Brown, Ruth Wright in 2013. Thoughts?
I strongly disagree.
That bar is so incredibly high.
Yeah. That's not even an anti-Starocki, Brooks, Beard, Kirkfleet sentiment necessarily. That's just that's a very, very high bar.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking all-timer, NCAA champ, all-timer, two-time champ. So you gotta have two all-timers in there and two other champions. Like, come on.
And of course, for guys so Brooks was the only one that lost. So when you talk about Brooks being an all-timer, if he wins 3, he'll still be considered an all-timer. But everyone, in 20 years, hopefully everyone kind of has the knowledge, like, hey, he lost out on an opportunity, and maybe he wouldn't have won, but he was certainly in the mix to win this year.
Nomad, say he won 2 of the next 3, right? Would he be considered an all-timer? Because you got a guy like Vincenzo Joseph who won 2, could have potentially won the 3rd this year, but I don't think people, and we had this debate, I don't think people hold him in the same regard as they do Taylor, Ruth, Zane, Nolf, those guys, and because we talked about how high that the Penn State guys have now set the bar for what it takes to be an all-timer. Vincenzo was a guy who won multiple NCAA titles, and I don't think he's considered in that category.
Well, I think part of Vincenzo's problem, I don't know what word to use there, but when you are in the same literal room as those guys, you get overlooked.
And when you came after, Taylor and Ruth brought that in.
Yes. So if Chenzo wrestled for basically literally anywhere else, he would be vaulted higher, not because the accomplishments are any different, but just because of look around the room.
Yeah.
But as for Brooks, to the Brooks question, it depends. If he peels off 2 out of 3, but he goes 107-2 with a 74% bonus rate, and is murking people for 3 years, then yeah, he should be considered an all-timer. It's when you have. So I think a big thing, like, undefeated seasons are really extremely difficult, and I get into a lot of arguments with people because I do the Hodge rankings and I pull people out when they lose, and I'm like, look, part of dominance is showing up every day and winning.
Consistent.
I agree.
Consistent dominance is hard.
And then within that, yes, there is not just winning, but winning big, putting on a show, pinning people, right? Taking people down, putting them on their back. But yeah, if Brooks peels off, over 100 wins and 70-75% bonus rate with multiple national titles, yeah, he should be considered an all-timer. Staraki's a little hard because he went undefeated, but he didn't quite get the level of competition, and so it's a lot of potential, right? It's a lot of we've seen it, we know how good he can be, but we just haven't seen him against those guys. I think he's honestly Starocki to me is the key to their season next year.
Yeah, I think Starocki I think has high potential. But when you're looking at this, it's essentially, Brooks has kind of proved himself, but again, he wasn't he could have won NCAAs, but wasn't number 1. I think it was number 5 seed, I believe.
3.
Number 3 seed. But Starocki, Beard, and Kirkwood, it's all potential. And so let's even give Brooks the right. I went through Taylor, Brown, Ruth, and Wright. Let's give Brooks the all-timer. Okay, out of that other group of 3, which all has potential but does not have any NCAA accomplishments yet, we're talking 1 all-timer and 2 other guys who have NCAA titles. Like, it's a lot to, no matter who it is, that's a lot to grasp from just having potential.
Yeah, and again, it's just a high bar, and of course everyone said the same thing. Oh, wait till Taylor and Ruth leave, and then they ripped off Nickel and Zane and all.
Penn State's been so effing good.
Yeah, and that's the whole point why we have the We Are doc and everything. So, it's skepticism, but it's skepticism with the fact of knowing that they didn't just do it one time; they've done it multiple times. So,
agreed.
I don't know. I think Starocki and Kirkfleet kind of decide where they fall next year. That's just my opinion. Kevin Mulder Acres. What has Ben Askren opinion on the book Can't Hurt Me? I heard him mention Goggins on the show last week. I assume you're talking about David Goggins?
Yes, David Goggins. I mean, I don't want to be critical, but I didn't really like it that much. I thought it was too simplistic, meaning I felt like every chapter was the same thing. And obviously, his message is, in fact, resonating with a lot of people. It didn't resonate with me all that much. To me, the message was, here's something I did. It was really hard. I'm really tough, though. Here's where I struggled and where I almost quit. But I didn't quit because I'm a freaking savage. And that was like every chapter, just repeat. And, like I said, his message is resonating with a lot of people. I guess because toughness is not something I feel as though I lack, it just didn't resonate with me. And I thought the message was fairly simple.
Okay.
Did you guys read it?
No. But I would say that's also your perspective, Ben. I mean, like, sometimes people just need a club in the head to, like, oh, maybe I do need to be tougher.
Yeah, so I'm saying for me, yes, toughness is important. And I said, obviously, his message is resonating with a lot of people. I believe it's a best-selling book. And, he's a very popular guy right now. But to me, I want to read about, like, innovation or how to build something or really unique outside-the-box problem-solving. Like, I got the toughness part in check. I don't need that. I need other things. And so that's kind of the stuff I like reading about.
All right, Billy Badass. I have not read the book, so I cannot give you an opinion on it. Kevin Mulder, he specifically asked Ben Askren, so he probably doesn't care about mine.
Yes.
JD, have you read the book?
No.
Okay.
But I will say David Goggins is a badass.
All right.
He's a badass. There's no doubt about that at all.
Moving on to the next one. Bailey Brown at Dan's Brita Filter, frequent question asker. A simple one. Who is JD's favorite wrestler?
Askarov. Doug Rose Karov.
Okay. Why?
Nice.
Because he, in my opinion, has been like the most fun to watch, basically, and he kind of fit the like coming up like my first like Olympics that I remember watching and like World Champs stuff like around that 2011-12, which is when he kind of started to come through. Won Olympic gold in 2012 at 19, I think it was, and beat legend Kudakov in doing so. He could have won in 2016 if Romanov wasn't on his absolute tear. I forget exactly what the scenario was there, why he went so crazy.
Well, okay. How do you not know this? Besic, who I think basically everyone loves, as they should, was Romanov's... Besic is to Romanov as Frankie Edgar is to Sebastian Rivera.
Besic died, yes.
Yeah. And so, as though you needed any more ammunition or
to win
motivation to win the Olympics, it was, this is the guy that took my idol's dream away from me. I'm going to pound him into the earth.
Yes. Good stuff.
And I think he had on the Besic shirt after he won, like in his interview. I can't quite remember.
Yes, it was huge. I just couldn't remember exactly. I remember there was something why he went crazy in 2016. But I mean, Asgarov's just his slide by, his shuck. The things he did with his legs, his brow, yes, everything. I don't care if he used steroids. It's still my favorite.
Oh, boo!
Ben, did you? We probably talked about it on the show. Did you see the Vogar stuff? We talked about the pills. We did talk about it on the show last week.
We talked about it on the show. I didn't see it. I watched a little bit of that, but I did not see it. My brother allegedly informed me that Vogar may be coming to Wisconsin sometime soon.
That's awesome.
Phenomenal.
A lot of Vogar. Also, watch the Mike Mal Vogar Wall Talk. That was awesome. And that was done in Oklahoma. One more, and this is from Justin Hale, who you may remember Justin Hale from when he came on FRL and
he works for you guys, right?
Yeah, he works. Yeah, he works for Flow, and he came on FRL because he was going to wrestle in the. Well, he did. He backed up.
US Open.
Senior Nationals, and
Nationals.
He wrestled like LaValle or somebody, and made it the second period. I don't know. Justin Hale's a badass because he put his money where his mouth is and did something I wouldn't do. Since Raider JD is from Iowa, he'll be good to get the ball rolling on this. Coach Bobby Douglas should have a flow film about his life and success in wrestling. Can we expect this in February 2021?
I don't know about expecting it, but I am absolutely on board. Bobby Douglas, obviously a legend. We did do the night of Bobby Douglas with Bono in Wisconsin. Was that earlier this season?
Yeah.
Yep. So a bunch of great stories from his athletes and stuff like that. Coming up, actually, since I'm from the Ames area, Bobby would actually kind of sometimes come into our club and teach, and he's just a phenomenal mind. It was always funny. So he legitimately wears like those coon hats, like, and then they have like little coon tail, and his sweats tucked into his UGG boots. Always keeps the fanny pack on.
Did he have his fanny pack? He had the fanny pack?
Always had the fanny pack on. And how he shows technique, because at this point he's old. I think he's had a couple of hip replacements. He just points with his feet, like he'll come over and just say, "Do this," and do this, and just like points with his feet instead of, because he can't be too mobile and bend down and whatnot. Everything's a tackle, double leg tackle.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I have long thought Bobby Douglas is one of the more underrated people in the landscape of American wrestling, both in terms of, as a competitor, as a coach, his impact within the African American community of wrestling and the impact he's had there. Obviously being the first black head coach of a national championship team. The thing that really stinks about Bobby, and why I was very excited to do that Bobby Douglas night when Wisconsin hosted Penn State and Bono and Kale were there, and then obviously kind of from them, Varner and Reeder had the tree of Bobby Douglas through them. That's why I was very excited to be there, because there's a bunch of ex-wrestlers there, and you could just feel the reverence they had for this guy who had such a important impact on his career. I mean, Chris Bono's like, this guy taught me how to wrestle. He's like, I came to college and I knew I was tough. This guy taught me how to wrestle. He taught me how to watch film. He taught me how to be a coach and appreciate all these things. And, maybe Chris Bono would have ended up being a coach, but that that helped him, right? And that helped John Reeder, and that helped Cael Sanderson.
Cael's not Cael without Bobby.
There's no way. There's no way.
And if you think he's not pulling some coaching tactics or whatever insight from Bobby that he's using,
or just film, right? Like Bobby has this legendary collection of film, and obviously it's a little easier now with digital and flow and everything being streamed. But I'm sure that had an influence on Cael, and I would not be surprised if he voraciously watched film. So, yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get a Bobby Douglas flow film, and it really sucks because he was a little bit, he kind of ended a little bit before flow came along, and so we never really got a lot of the Bobby Douglas stuff. But Bobby Douglas is amazing, all-timer.
Nice. I love Bobby Douglas. I would love to see that, but I cannot force you guys to do any type of films.
Ben, you could just fund all of these things. You're independently wealthy. You got all this Bitcoin money.
All right.
You fund
made
a couple
so much more than the UFC roster.
Maybe if I retain permanent rights, then I'll think about.
Oh, you're gonna Wayne Boyd us now with.
Well, we can do independent production, maybe something like that.
Do you have a production company?
I don't yet, but I should create one.
I kind of am surprised at that.
Well, I did create. Well, I said technically, I did create an LLC called Ashgram Media for a lot of the things I do. That was created on January 1st. So I guess who knows? Maybe Ashgram Media can do production as well.
Do you have a DBA?
Well, actually, Ashgram Media that would encompass production. I actually just pitched on social media yesterday that Chase Hooper and Sugar Sean O'Malley come up and we do some type of really short skit on me being their father. I think we could have a lot of fun with that. So that would be my first official production if they come up here.
All right, I love it. All right, boys, we didn't get the full hour and a half, so we let Christian down. It's 9:42, but I think we had a great show today, and I think we'll have another tremendous show tomorrow. I'll be here all week. JD, are you back? Are we scooting Bray in? What are we doing here? Are we just going full JD Raider all week? I'm fine with that.
Shout out JC, this is the takeover.
He ain't letting me go. All right, thank you for watching episode 515 of FRL. Watch the Bader Show later today. Who we have? We have Nazar on the Bader Show. Nazar on the Bader Show. Eric Thompson, the Golden Bear. It'll be Bader and Bray. And, make sure you're watching FRL 516 tomorrow morning, same time, same place. See you guys.